Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Riiv to receive the top 10 stocks to buy right now. What is the best way to invest in autonomous driving stocks right now? There's not a lot of easy answers. And the reality is that a lot of companies that are leading the way, autonomous driving is a relatively small percentage of their business and their revenue, and definitely not contributing to their net income right now. But there's one company that is a leader and actually has a lot of exposure from a public stock, and that is Cruise. This is one of the few companies that is licensed to operate commercial autonomous vehicles with no driver inside in the US, and it's already expanding to 3 cities here with more planned by the end of 2023. But you may not know that Cruise is actually majority owned by General Motors. General Motors actually bought the company but kept it separate, had outside investors invest in the company over the last few years. But through a number of deals, it now owns about 80% of Cruise. And that gives it a lot of upside if autonomous ride sharing is really a big piece of our transportation future. So let's dig into exactly what this company does and what the upside is for investors. My name is Travis Hoium. Thank you for watching Riiv Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube so you can get access to all of my content and great investment ideas. So let's go through what Cruise does and what the future of this company looks like. This is Cruise's website, and it really shows the vehicles that they have today. They're retrofitted Chevy Bolts with a lot of equipment here on the top, including LiDAR and cameras and infrared sensors. And that's what drives the company's autonomous driving technology. Over the last few years, Cruise has expanded throughout San Francisco. It's added Phoenix recently and also Austin. So you can see that they're starting with relatively small areas in Phoenix and Austin, but that was the same case in San Francisco a couple of years ago. We're expanded almost all the way to the top end of the San Francisco Peninsula right now, except for a couple of small areas where there's limited access. But over time, as Cruise learns more about these areas and maps them, puts them into the system, these spaces are going to grow. Phoenix and Austin were only launched a couple of months ago, so I would expect maybe not the entire city, but a much bigger chunk to be available later this year. Cruise continues to expand what it's mapping, improves on its technology over time, but really the goal is to launch a self-driving vehicle that's custom built for ride sharing. And that's what Cruise Origin is. This is a vehicle that's going to be built by General Motors and Honda, and then it's going to be launched by Cruise with the backing of General Motors providing $5 billion in a line of credit. So again, Cruise is able to lean on its parent company, General Motors, and the financial strength that it has there to grow into a much more mature company. And this vehicle, I think, is really interesting because it's used for a number of different use cases. You can see here that they're offering rides, so it's a little bit like a mini bus. You can do traditional ride sharing, but again, don't have that driver, and it's custom built specifically for ride sharing. So maybe a little bit better service than you might get from traditional Uber or something like that. There's a lot of mobility improvements. So access to more people than can maybe use something like Uber or Lyft. That's another great advantage for this custom built vehicle. And then the other thing we have to keep in mind too, especially given the size of the delivery market for Uber and Lyft, is that this is a vehicle that can be used for delivering things. So groceries, stuff from Target, there's all kinds of use cases for those delivery features. And that actually expands the number of hours that this vehicle can be operated as well. When you're building a custom vehicle, you can build it exactly for what you want it for. And that's what Cruise is doing with the Origin. This is actually very similar design to what Zoox is doing. Zoox was acquired by Amazon a couple of years ago, but this is a common design that you're probably going to see more as more autonomous vehicles hit the road. So I think Cruise has a really compelling offering in the ride sharing space. And the fact that it's a custom built vehicle designed to last for about 1 million miles, we don't know the exact cost of it, but we can presume that they're building this in a cost efficient manner, especially since they can all be effectively the same. You don't have to have customization that you would with a traditional vehicle. Now the question is, can Cruise itself build a sustainable business model that will then add value to General Motors shareholders? We don't know the definite answer to that, but let's give a few stats behind this. In the US, about 3.2 trillion miles are driven every year. If we assume that just 1% of those miles go to an autonomous ride-sharing vehicle like Cruise, that's 32 billion miles per year. And then think about cost per transportation. The current rate schedule per mile from the IRS is 58.5 cents per mile. So figure a company like this can charge maybe $1 per mile because it allows people not to have to own a vehicle. That's $32 billion in potential revenue just from driving. That's 1% market share of all the transportation needs we have today. Does that seem attainable? Well, ironically, Uber generated $32 billion in revenue in the past year. Now, that's a global number, but the transportation numbers I was giving was just in the US. So I think Cruise has the potential to generate tens of billions of dollars in revenue. And that's at a pretty conservative dollar per mile price of $1. So I think there is a big opportunity here to disrupt transportation with something like autonomous ride sharing. The economics could work, especially if the cost per mile is significantly lower than Uber, who currently isn't making money. But remember, Cruise is going to be more efficient with its vehicles. It's not going to have to pay drivers and could potentially have a significantly lower cost per mile as well. So if you're interested in investing in autonomous driving, one of the most direct ways to do that is actually through buying General Motors. GM stock has a market cap of just $47 billion as I'm recording, and the price to earnings multiple is just 5.5. So the market is basically giving zero value to Cruise right now. You're getting it for free and then getting General Motors as something of a value stock. I really like that position as an investor. I like the upside that Cruise has and the backing that it's getting from General Motors. So that's why I own shares and why I'm so bullish on the company and Cruise in general. What do you think about owning shares of Cruise, maybe in an IPO through General Motors or as a spinoff? That could be a really exciting and really profitable investment for buy and hold investors. But give me your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe to Riiv Investing. Thank you for watching. I'll see you here next time.